You don't have a leads problem. I know that sounds backwards if your pipeline's been running dry, but stick with me because that one sentence is going to save you from wasting money on the wrong fix. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's actually broken in your pipeline, and it's not the number you've been staring at. If you appreciate me making this type of content, let me know by gently tapping that like button and consider subscribing and sharing this with someone who needs to hear it. Let's get into it. The wrong fix. Here's what almost every business owner does the second their pipeline dries up. They go get more leads, more ads, more lists, more cold outreach. And for a week or two, it feels like it's working. Your inbox fills up, you've got names, numbers, a few calls booked. Then the same thing happens. Prospects go quiet, deals stall out. You're back where you started, just with a bigger list of people who will never call you back. Leads versus opportunities. So let's talk about why that keeps happening. In the sales velocity equation, one of the four numbers that decides how fast and how predictably you make money is opportunities, not leads, opportunities. And those two words get used like they mean the same thing, but they don't. A lead is just a name and a phone number. Somebody clicked something, filled out a form, or picked up when you cold called. That's it. That's all a lead is. An opportunity is someone who's earned a spot on your pipeline because they've actually been qualified, not just by whether they filled out a form, but by whether they understand you get their problem and whether you understand it too. That's a real conversation, not a guess. And the reason that conversation goes so much easier is because the trust work already happened before you ever picked up the phone. And that's the entire gap most business owners are missing when they go chasing more leads. They're trying to fix a trust problem by adding volume, and volume doesn't build trust. It just gives the trust problem more people to fail with. The trust data. Here's the part most people miss. The Edelman and LinkedIn B2B Thought Leadership Impact Study found that 73% of decision makers say they trust a company's expertise more when they've seen that expertise demonstrated publicly compared to traditional marketing and ads. 73%. Think about what that actually means. Most of the buyers you want are already forming an opinion about whether you're credible long before they ever fill out a form or answer your call. They're looking you up, they're reading what you've put out into the world if you've put anything out at all, and if there's nothing there or nothing that shows you actually know what you're talking about, you're starting every single sales conversation from zero. That means the trust that actually moves a deal forward is mostly built before your sales conversation even starts. If it's not there yet, no amount of new leads is going to fix that gap. You're just handing more strangers the same missing trust problem. Quick break. If you want to know exactly where this gap is showing up in your own pipeline, I built a free diagnostic that walks through it in about 20 minutes. Link is in the description and the pinned comment below. go.sologrowth-ai.com/diagnostic. All right, back into it. What demand actually is. So, if leads aren't the real number to chase, what is? It's demand. Not in the buzzword sense, in the plain sense. People already thinking about you and trusting you before they need what you sell. That's built by showing your thinking in public consistently in front of the exact people you want to work with. Now, I'm not talking about investing a lot of money into brand building, personal branding, or ad spend that's not yet optimized and doesn't convert. All these techniques have their place in their own time. What I'm talking about is doing specific and tactical trust building activities to attract a very small group of people, namely your target ideal clients. The 3M story. I remember very clearly the time just after we were acquired by the Fortune 100 company 3M, when I was working at EAR Specialty Composites. The difference between telling a cold prospect that I was from 3M versus EAR Specialty Composites made a huge difference. Just saying the name 3M got me into previously closed doors so much easier. Why? It was because the millions of dollars that 3M invests each year to build, maintain, and protect its brand really works to build trust and familiarity. The door that used to take 3 or 4 calls to open opened on the first one because the credibility was already sitting there waiting for me before I ever said anything else. So the question to ask as a small business owner is, can I figure out a way to build that same kind of trust with the people who can help my company grow without cutting into my profit to do it? You don't have 3M's marketing budget and you don't need it. What you have is expertise nobody else has packaged and shown publicly yet. That's the trust you can build for free on a consistent schedule in front of the exact people you're trying to reach. How trust moves all 4 numbers. Here's why that matters so much for the other 3 numbers in the sales velocity equation. When trust already exists, the sales conversation gets shorter because they're not spending the first 2 or 3 calls proving you're legitimate. That's time you get back immediately. A shorter sales cycle also tends to raise your win rate because the longer a deal drags on, the more time a prospect has to get distracted, get a competing quote, or just lose momentum and go quiet on you. And when someone already trusts you before the conversation starts, there's less pressure to compete on price to prove your value. That's what protects your average deal size. Trust doesn't just get you in the door faster, it touches every single number in the equation all the way through to what actually lands in your bank account. Who am I? Now, quick word on who's telling you this. My name is James Miller. I spent years as a senior account manager at EAR Specialty Composites, where we grew the company from $10 million to $43 million in revenue and grew gross margin from 12% to 55%. That growth led to the $123 million acquisition by 3M. I've lived the difference between chasing leads and building real demand. And it's the difference that actually moves the business forward. So here's the real fix. Stop measuring your pipeline by how many leads came in this week. Start measuring whether the right people already trust you before they ever raise their hand. That's the number that actually predicts whether next month looks like this month or whether it's another feast or famine swing. And if you want to go deeper on what comes next after you've got the right opportunities coming in, I made several videos on exactly that, and you can check them out in the Sales Velocity Advantage or SVA playlist. You can check the next one out by clicking right here.